want to go back to, it's my question about the 4.4 of Kirwan money. Can that be supplanted versus supplemented? And we still haven't answered that question. What I have is that it can be supplanted, but they would prefer it not be. Have we gotten any more information on that legally? Mark, Mr. Blom, can you help? Because we are just not at the point where we should be adding programming to anything while we're taking cuts and hits on other things.
Good evening, Mark Blum. The $4.4 million from Kirwan for use of teacher salaries.
Not that. The other 4.4. The 4.3, whatever the other half of that is.
Oh, the remaining parts of it?
Right.
Oh,
2.7 special education.
1.6 pre-K and 83,000 for the mental health coordinator, which I believe we're supplanting the 83,000 for the mental health coordinator.
Pre-K is $717,000, and then a universal screening is $804,000. Yes.
So
that money can be used to supplant local funding, but we will need to report out to the state how we used those respective amounts in those different programs. We will have to report out to the state how we use those respective amounts to meet the needs identified in the Kirwan legislation.
okay.
So we can supplant, but we're going to have to make sure our program meets those needs as identified in the respective funding streams.
So I've got to believe that more than 83,000 of just the mental health coordinator can be supplanted.
Yes.
And what is that number?
It's everything but the teacher salaries.
Is that number in here, Dr. Mariano?
It is in there.
8.7 minus 4.4.
Yes.
So 4.3.
The savings of $4.3 million is in the budget that you're proposing, Dr. Mariano?
Yes.
That's already been taken into account as you built the budget, the parameters of the Kirwan dollars.
Yes.
To build the special education budget, to build the other parameters which they have been. So absolutely, yes.
I don't see that anywhere in the spreadsheet that you've created.
It was how we got to the delta of $38 million.
So where is that? Is that in the 6.5 million? Is that in the 700,000? Is that in the 500,000? Where is that?
All right, I will show you. It's in the. It is built into this document, which is how we got to the $38 million shortfall.
I only see 83,000 in that document.
Now,
can you show that?
See, additional Kirwan fund is right there. It says special education, $2.7 million. Transitional supplemental instruction, $804,000. Mental health coordinator, $83,000. That's the only one that we're for sure confirmed that could be supplanted because we already have a mental health coordinator. For special education, that determination has been made by Mr. Bernstein and Dr. Savage on how that supplant can happen. So if it's not possible and I put it that it be supplanted, then I create another hole of another $2 million. And more so, we already know that special education has been underfunded through for the non-public.
We have underfunded many needs in the system, right? I mean, that we have to talk about our Title I kids, our achievement gap, and many other things too. So let's talk about unfunded needs in that way. But I'd like to know what that actual number is of the $4.4 million. 83, I know for sure. What is the other number?
I can just speak to the 2.7. We added, I feel like I'm going to get the number. We added additional funding to cover the difference between what had been budgeted in non-public and what was actually being spent. That number is greater than $2.7 million, so I can speak to that $2.7 million offsetting that difference, leaving us with just an overage. I feel like it was about three.
Yeah.
So I don't have.
So we're adding the two.
About $1 million short.
So we're not supplanting. We're
supplanting
supplementing.
what would have been in the budget, otherwise operating, and we're replacing. Are saying, okay, we have these dollars now. We can supplant that need, and that's.
I thought we used unfunded positions to fund that 2.8. Are you talking about another $3 million that we have?
No, I'm talking about we had to add $3 million into non-public, or not, a request for non-public
Didn't we do a $700,000 category transfer to fund some of that?
That was this year.
Year over year, we do. And so next
Okay.
year's proposed
year.
budget is to correct the, and we've taken
Structuring
some
balance.
fierce criticism, and rightly so, for routinely saying that we're going to spend $7.7 million, and we spend between $9 and $11 million. So this year, we added that into the budget. It became part of the obligations list, because that's the bill that's going to come in, whether we say we're going to pay that much or not. And so when the $2.7 million, we learned that it could be a plan for special education, we exhaled, greatly, because that is money that we could use to offset some of that overage, because we were trying to look for about $3 million more than.
How have we funded that in the past?
It is through categorical transfers.
Through categorical
So
transfers.
the roll-up of all the $800 million budget's worth of lapsed salaries, turnover, unspent dollars, pull that back in May, take a look at it, figure out what it is, and then look at what's over and under and make those last-minute corrections, or those June corrections. So that's how it's been done in the past.
How will it be done in the future?
It's budgeted for. So what we've actually accounted for.
But we keep saying it's increasing, correct?
Well, no, I think we have a good handle on the trend. I think we've budgeted an amount that it will adequately fund what's there. Now, that's highly dependent on the kids who require services. So at any given year, we could have more or less kids that require those services. So we may still be underfunded. We may be overfunded.
So essentially, we had a 2.7 million hole, so we're just adding that
We had a
money.
greater than $2.7 million hole
$2.7
that we're going to offset with this particular part of the Kirwan funding. Yeah, 2.7, yeah.
And then what about the pre-K? From the Kirwan?
The pre-K money is just general fund money, comes